Today we will be installing a set of front upper adjustable control arms for a 2008 Chrysler 300C. These shims included are for adjusting the caster angle. To install them, place the adjustment shims on both sides of the bushing. The top bolts are used to adjust the camber by allowing the ball joint to move either in or out. The product manual is also included with the adjustment shims and badge. The tools needed to complete the installation will be a long 18mm socket, a 10mm socket, a 22mm socket, a 13mm socket, and a short 18mm socket. You will also need an electric impact wrench, a hammer, a small torque wrench, and a large torque wrench. Also a 1/4 inch drive handle with a 7mm socket on the end, a 13mm wrench, a 3/8 ratchet, and a small pry bar. Use a 22mm socket with a torque wrench to loosen the wheel lug nuts. And then proceed to lift the vehicle in the air, safely supporting it, and then fully remove the wheel. Use an 18mm socket to remove the upper control arm nut, and then hit the side of the upper ball joint with a hammer to free it. Now you can lower the vehicle so you can open the hood to gain access to the power steering reservoir first. Use a pry bar to remove the reservoir. With a 7mm socket, remove the intake pipe clamp, and then use a pry bar to remove the breather hose. And then remove the upper air intake cover. Now remove the air intake temperature sensor plug so you can remove the cover completely. Use a 10mm socket to remove the coolant reservoir and then move it to the side. Use an 18mm socket to remove the upper control arm mounting bolt and then remove the cowl cover, and use a short 18mm socket and ratchet to remove the rear upper control arm bolt. Use a 13mm socket to remove the upper strut assembly nuts, and then use a 22mm socket to remove the stabilizer link. Now with an 18mm socket, remove the lower strut bolt. Now remove the strut assembly, and then take out the upper control arm mounting bolts so you can remove the control arm. Now insert 3 shims on the sides of the bushing, 2 on the bolt side and 1 on the forward side. Then install the new upper control arm. On the left side, place 1 shim, and on the right side, place 2 shims. Now insert the bolt fully and install the nut. Use an 18mm socket to tighten the upper control arm nuts. Then proceed to torque the upper suspension mounting nuts to 75 Newton meters. Make sure the installed control arm is leveled properly. Now install the strut assembly and hand thread on the nuts, along with installing the lower strut bolt. Use an 18mm socket to tighten the lower strut bolt. Reinstall the steering knuckle onto the upper control arm's ball joint and thread on the nut so you can tighten it with an 18mm socket. Now install the stabilizer link nut and tighten it with a 22mm socket. Torque the upper control arm ball joint nut to 47 Newton meters plus 90 degrees of rotation and then an additional 90 degrees. Torque the stabilizer link nut to 128 Newton meters. Now torque the lower strut mounting bolt to 147 Newton meters. Tighten the upper strut nut with a 13mm socket. Then with a 13mm socket, torque it to 27 Newton meters. Now reinstall the coolant reservoir and reconnect the power steering reservoir. Install the coolant reservoir bolts and then use a 10mm socket to tighten them. Reinstall the cowl cover. Reconnect the intake air temperature sensor plug. Reattach the throttle body intake duct. Reinstall the upper air filter housing cover. Reconnect the breather hose. Tighten the intake hose clamp. close the hood. Now we can install the wheel and lug nuts, and then use a 21mm socket to tighten the wheel lug nuts in a star pattern. Then again torquing them to 200 Newton meters.